No, I haven't posted in a while. Please don't blow my brains out. Please? Please? The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad, was directed by James Gunn. As the trailer said, the horribly beautiful mind of James Gunn. And this movie is horribly beautiful in the sense that so many freaking people die in this movie. This movie is insanely gory in the sense that there are so many people that die in the most cartoonish, ridiculous ways possible. There's some people that get ripped in half, brains are blown, people are shot, people explode. This movie's insane. Now, this movie was directed by James Gunn, the man who created Guardians of the Galaxy. Slither, Super, and Slither are interesting movies that I like. I don't love those movies. But James Gunn did something really cool and different with a Marvel movie that was Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody thought in a million years that a talking tree would be anything interesting. Yet, here we are. We love Groot. And this movie does something similar in the sense that we have King frickin' Shark here. Someone who really doesn't talk much, but we freaking love him, and I think he might have been my favorite character of this entire movie. Now let's talk about characters. John Cena's in this movie. He plays Peacemaker. If you watched him in the last movie that came out this summer, I forget what it's called. Oh, that's right. 9. I really didn't like that movie. We're going to move on from this. Anyways, John Cena in this movie is really great. I enjoyed what he did with this movie. Idris Elba's in this movie. Margot Robbie returns in this movie. Jai Courtney returns in this movie. Viola Davis returns in this movie. This movie's a requel. It's kind of a reboot. It's kind of a sequel. There are characters that came back from the original Suicide Squad that came out in 2016. And then there's a whole bunch of new characters. But mostly new characters in this one. Which brings me to my first negative to this movie. There are scenes in this movie with Margot Robbie where it almost feels like didn't need to be in this movie. She's on her own at certain points of this movie, and they just kind of feel forced into there. And the movie kind of feels boring in these parts. Not gonna lie, I checked my watch a couple times watching this movie because it felt like this movie was actually way longer than it actually was. Well, that's not true. It felt a little bit longer than it actually was. This movie's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It easily could have been 2 hours. But it felt like, hey, it's Margot Robbie. She loves Harley Quinn. We love Harley Quinn. Let's put her in there. Give her a story that doesn't need to be in there because it's Margot Robbie. It's Harley Quinn. You look at the sound editing, the sound mixing, all those technical things, the score. All the things are really great about this movie. But what really stands out in this movie is the cinematography. Same cinematographer that came with James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And this movie does look beautiful. There's amazing, beautiful shots of the Suicide Squad, of the locations they're at. Absolutely stunning looking movie. The special effects in this movie are really great. I heard in an interview or something that James Gunn said this is one of the most expensive practical sets related movies. Like, a lot of the sets were practical, and it shows in this movie. There's definitely CGI in this movie, but this movie uses that phrase of use practical whenever you can, use CGI when it has to be needed. And this movie uses practical when it can, uses CGI when needed. Now, James Gunn, when he signed up to this movie, said this movie had to be R-rated or he would not make it. And holy cow, did this movie earn the R rating that it got. This movie is gory. This movie has language. This movie says things that are so not family friendly. This movie is bombastic. And I had a really good time watching this movie. Now, is this movie perfect? No. There's a lot of jokes that James Gunn puts in that I would say only half of them really do work with this movie. The other half do work really well. The other half don't. This movie's a fun movie, though. I would say that the first part of this movie is really great. The third part of this movie, the last part of this movie is really great. That there's this middle section, though, mostly focused on Harley Quinn, that's just not as good. The action kind of stops halfway towards this movie and then picks back up again. And a lot of it I just kind of felt like it's because of Harley Quinn. And this movie actually had a lot of heart, mostly focused at the core with one of the characters, Rat. I forget what her name is, but she controls rats. She brings so much heart to this movie. It's amazing how much you care about these characters. Something that Suicide Squad did that the Suicide Squad doesn't do is Suicide Squad. This is so confusing. Suicide Squad puts so much introduction crap, so much exposition at the beginning of Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad gives you 5 minutes and you're just in. You get it, you go, you figure it out as you go. We don't necessarily need to build these characters. You learn about them as you go, which I really enjoyed about this movie. Polka Dot Man's in this movie. He's the most laughable DC character like in the comics probably ever. He throws polka dots. This movie, he's actually kind of freaking cool. He's got an interesting backstory. He does bring some more heart to the movie as well. At the end of the day, this movie was really pretty good. There are definitely parts of the movie that kind of got slow for me, and I didn't love them as much as I did. There definitely are some moments of humor that aren't the greatest. But at the end of the day, I like this movie a lot, guys. This is a movie that should be experienced on the big screen. It is available on HBO Max. Don't watch it there. Go to the theater. Watch this movie. It didn't do as well at the box office as it should have in this first weekend, and we need the theaters to be back and going again, please. Because something that I've already noticed about theaters is back 2 years ago, there would be 8:45, 9 o'clock showings. The latest showing we have now is like a 7 o'clock showing. I can't see movies at 7 o'clock. I want to see a movie at 9 o'clock. Come on. We gotta go to the theaters more, please. Anyways, guys, at the end of the day, this movie is a lot of fun. There are little things that are wrong with this movie. It is bombastic. It's crazy. I love King Shark. I love John Cena in this movie. I love Polka Dot Man. At the end of the day, guys, I didn't love this movie, but I really did like this movie. I had a blast with this movie. I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. So again, I apologize for not having any videos for a while. I did go to Lollapalooza. I went on a vacation. My buddy from Chicago showed me around. He brought me to the Dark Knight and the Batman Begins building. I think I almost peed myself that night. It was awesome. Anyways, guys, I also did go see Jungle Cruise right after watching this movie, so I'm gonna have a review up fairly soon, hopefully this week. We'll see. You know how